All right, episode 4, Hector Estrada. We are going to get started in 3, 2, 1. You like those production qualities, Hector?
Yeah, this is amazing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trade Geek Podcast, where I reluctantly have Hector Estrada on video.
Yeah.
And I think what you first have to understand and come to grips with is that Hector and I both suffer from the intense crushing weight of being incredibly handsome men.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah, we were in Hong Kong once with one of our clients, and you had to go buy squishies. Do you remember that?
Yes, I did. Squishies. And you had to buy those little spinning gadget things.
Spinning gadget, yeah. So we were in Hong Kong, went to the ladies' market.
Yes.
And Hector, I don't think you'd ever really not bartered, but like bickered with someone about price before.
Not someone in Hong Kong, but yes,
yeah,
I agree. It was a different experience.
So we had spent the past couple of days working on client stuff, and then with our free time, we got you some suits.
Yes,
which was pretty awesome.
Very awesome.
You still have them?
Love them. Yes, my favorite suits by far.
Shout out to Sam's in Hong Kong. Shout out to Sam's.
Yep, Sam's Taylor. Yep.
And so we had to go, and I said, we'll go to the ladies' market. You're like, and I think Yvette had been to Hong Kong a couple times, right?
Yes,
yeah.
She had, yeah.
So Hector and I get on the subway, and we roll to the ladies' market with like a pocket full of dollars. I mean, just 2 stud muffins with our baseball hats on backwards, and we go rolling in there. So I told Hector, you can't just accept whatever number these women give you.
That's right.
Hector's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you gotta negotiate, man. He's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So there were these toys that your 3 beautiful daughters were all into called squishies.
Yes.
And this is when I wish I had like a producer right now to put up on the of what these stupid, silly things were. They were renderings of all kinds of things, from like an egg to a piece of bacon, like
ice cream cone. Yep.
And they were made of this material that you could just squeeze the hell out of, and they'd always come back into their shape. And for whatever reason, there was a period in time when unfortunately kids really liked these damn things.
It's that same material that you put in those little things where you put the earplugs in your ear, right? Very similar.
Yeah. So we go to the ladies' market, and Hector and I come across the mother lode of squishies.
That's right.
And so we're negotiating, and they also had the fidget spinners.
Yeah.
Because Hudson wanted fidget spinners, and Charlotte wanted to bring them to school. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's work this lady.
Yeah.
And so she wanted, I think she started off at like 500 Hong Kong. And you're like, 500 Hong Kong. What's wrong with you? And she comes back with, okay. Handsome boy. Was it handsome boy?
Handsome boy special.
Handsome boy discount. I will give you the handsome boy discount. And I'm like, what about me? She goes, double
handsome boy schedule. Yes.
And so we got it down to, we got into this. We walked away like 2 times.
My bag was stuffed with squishies, and we felt like the bells of the ball.
Yeah. And because we kind of were, to be frank.
Well, yes, we were. Obviously.
And we came away with that. So, for those of you that don't know, Hector and I worked together for quite a while. We were at Expeditors together. We were Robinson together. We were at Ryan together. We were at Crane together.
Yep.
And now I am at Crow, and you didn't come with me.
No,
because you're selfish and horrible. But Hector is not only a very good friend of mine, he is also a customs house broker. And he is my resident expert on all things in Mexico, which, like, when a white guy in New Hampshire says that, it just automatically sounds racist.
A little bit, but I know it's not. Yes, but it's true.
That's not what I'm going for. Like, Hector and I go to Mexican food restaurants a lot, and we have a number of rules about the Mexican joints we go to. So, rule number 1. It has to have been something before it was a Mexican restaurant.
It has to be clearly, you have to drive by and think to yourself, that looks like an old KFC or an old Jack in the Box or an old Long John Silver. That's when you know you're hitting the honey pot.
Or an old car wash.
An old car wash, an old laundromat. Yep. Yes. A nail salon.
A nail salon would be excellent.
Yes.
No one can speak English at all.
Yes.
Even if they can, they don't.
Yes.
The menu cannot be in English.
Yes.
And I have to feel both threatened and isolated all at once.
Yes. And salsas have to be in abundance. There has to be salsa options in abundance.
Yes. Because here's what goes down, right? So we walk into some seemingly normal Mexican place, and don't get it twisted. I love Mexican food, and I know a thing or two, right? But Hector and I sit down, and the menu comes out, and he's like, I don't think so.
So you don't even show me that. Don't even show me the menu.
So over will come the waiter or the waitress, and Hector just starts ordering something completely preposterous that is not on the menu. They probably don't, it's not even have a name. It's just like, I want you to take 4 different things and shove them together and then stick them on a plate with some tamales and a couple of tortillas, and we're good.
Yeah. Well, we try to keep them on their toes, and we want to see how authentic they are, and we try to, make them pull little some tricks out of the hat.
And that's generally as well when you make jokes at my expense in Spanish.
Well,
please.
That's when you are it's the biggest hit. You are the biggest hit when you let me steer the ship.
So we'll be in some Mexican place, and Hector will just start talking, and before I know it, everyone's laughing. I'm like, what was so funny? I'll tell you what's funny. You speak French and German and not Spanish, you idiot. Everybody laughs. Yeah. So,
I'm trying to arrange a marriage for you.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Finally get a lady to make me tortillas at home. That would be amazing.
There you go. I mean,
so we have had a lot of adventures, Hector.
We have.
But a lot of adventures, many of them dangerous in places like Laredo and North Dallas.
Yes. South Dallas.
South Dallas?
Yes.
Yeah. And we've also done a tremendous amount of work together. And we'll have some fun. So before we started rolling, Hector and I were talking. He's in Laredo right now. No, El Paso. With his pops who had some knee surgery. So I'm glad he's recovering well.
Yes.
And
thank you.
Of course. And, I told him right beforehand, we're going to have some fun on this one because we can now, because we don't have the thumb of Mighty Crane telling us that we're not allowed to tell jokes.
That's true.
Don't tell jokes on the podcast. Oh my God. But we're going to tell jokes and not wear Astros gear and actually enjoy recording about USMCA. So first things first, man, the southern border, the last time time before last, they were going to shut down the southern border. It was a total train wreck. The trucks are. How is like the flow of stuff down there? How are things going?
Business is booming right now. I mean, things are flowing fairly well. I checked in with a couple of buddies of mine while I was in town just to kind of catch up on personal stuff and have the opportunity to talk about just things they're seeing, their opinion on things that they're seeing, and business is flowing. People are staying busy in terms of getting trucks across the border and kind of getting orders filled for, last minute shopping and the push to close out the year. But the overall consensus that I've heard are people are very happy to be at this stage where the agreement, will be signed soon and put into effect. And people are very optimistic. Yes.
Theoretically, yeah. What about drivers, like shortages of drivers and that kind of a thing?
Well, shortages of drivers, that's going to continue. The lines are, I think, are normalized now. I don't think that we're seeing any crazy lines in terms of, what we were seeing when the government was shutting down some of the resources for the border. But for right now, traffic is flowing, and a lot of people that I've talked to are looking forward to 2020.
Well, that's good, I suppose.
Yeah.
I keep looking at myself in the camera because I don't know if you can you tell my beard's a little bit darker?
Yeah, up top. What's going on up there?
Well, I don't. See, I need the top to be darker, man. I need the bottom to be darker. I went and I bought that because I'm getting vain.
Yes.
50.
Getting. I'm so glad you're starting this journey.
Thanks, man.
Uncharted waters for you.
Yeah, I know. It's so rare that I care, right? So I I got that like it slowly turns the gray to the right color stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so, I get up in the morning and I go to the gym, which I know is hard to believe. And then I come home or whatever hotel I'm at. And then I've got it in plastic bags in case it spills everywhere.
Yeah.
And, I follow all the rules and everything. And I was at my attorney this afternoon and he's like, "What's up with your face, man? What are you talking about?" And he goes, there's like black streaks on your shoes. I didn't wipe it off well enough today.
Oh
no, it gets so much better. I took a shower this morning, Hector, at 5:30. And I went to the airport. I got on a plane. I flew back to Manchester. Apparently with like I was trying to be Elvis with the black.
Big old blotches on your skin.
Yeah. So
TSA must have been looking at you like, what is up with this guy?
I went to church today and dropped off my toy donations and talked to the priest for like 20 minutes. He was staring at me like there was something wrong with me. I'm like, yeah, maybe. I went and got groceries and people were looking. I'm like, what? Am I pretty all of a sudden? This is really working. Right? No. I just looked like I was rolling in coal dust and I got it in my hair. So part of me is thinking maybe I shouldn't use it's too powerful, it's too strong,
Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't look bad. It just, if you were trying to get the gray covered up on the bottom, you didn't do a good job.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Well, okay, so it's getting a little bit better, but I don't know. We'll see over weeks. Because if it doesn't, I'm just going to shave it off. Because I feel like old man Grizzly Adams, man. I'm like Mr. Burns. Yeah, it's depressing.
Well,
I mean, hey, listen. I'm a lot of things. Pretty ain't one of them. And I've had a long time to come to grips with that, man. I mean, I've had a long time to just get comfortable with the fact that I'm not winning any beauty pageants.
Well, that's okay.
Feel free to jump in and disagree with me anytime. Like, nah, you're not that ugly.
You're right.
Yeah, whatever. Shut up.
I'm like, don't stress about entering the beauty contest. So you're fine.
Whatever. Yeah. So anyway, I'll stop staring at my beard. So USMCA this week. Big news.
Yeah.
Big monster news that the Democrats decided that they can roll with some changed language in the agreement.
Yeah.
And change it they did. So there's a couple of things that I really wanted to point out before we start talking about it. And the first is all free trade agreements moving forward have a lot more to do with duty minimization. Probably have less with duty minimization. They have significantly more to do with things like human rights, environmental policy, intellectual property, and a couple of weird things in the USMCA. When it was first written, President Trump wanted to have President Trump, a lot of people wanted to have a 10-year period before Canada and Mexico would be able to do generics of medication. Right now, it's at 5 years, and it's very specific on specific types. So they're biologicals. And instead of doing a 5-year or a 10-year, you're doing a 0 year.
A 0 year.
Yes. So there are a lot of folks who are concerned about IP because you just automatically generics. What's the big deal, right? Then also there's all this labor stuff, which, oh man. So I spoke at this automotive thing a couple of weeks ago. And one of the guys from the USTR was up there talking about, here's what it's going to do for you with USMCA. And all these automotive customs house brokers are like, wow, does anybody have a pitchfork that we can just impale this guy? Because $16 an hour is going to be the minimum requirement for certain auto parts manufacturers and auto manufacturers, right?
Yeah.
And that comes with all kinds of problems. So first of all, somebody's got to go and do the research to make sure, and for compliance purposes.
Yeah.
Now, likely that research is going to be done by guys like me and you by the hour as consultants, because I can't imagine. And then Mexico and Canada had a big problem with American inspectors going down there, like, for Department of Labor or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're a sovereign nation, in case no one reminded President Trump about that one. So that was interesting that everyone appears to be okay with that now. Then the agriculture stuff. I'm a testament to how good we can grow crops in America. I mean, I am a stout man. I am a powerfully built, stout man, and that comes from decades of consuming incredibly well-produced American agriculture. There is no shortage of incredible agricultural outcomes. So
are we just wrapping up everything in the food chain under agriculture for this state of this argument?
Oh, about me?
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. Well, I mean, theoretically, if it walked or came out of the ground, it falls under agriculture, Hector.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So that fascinates me as well, because I feel like Canada is going to lose out on dairy, but I feel like American farmers on vegetables and fruits are about to give up even more ground on them. So
I think it's going to be very interesting in terms of agriculture, because there's a saying in Mexico that when the U.S. hits a recession, it's like a cold. And if the U.S. gets a cold, Mexico gets the flu, right? So the ripple effect is, much bigger in Mexico whenever there's a huge change. There are a lot of proud farmers. There's a lot of infrastructure that has been built and programs that have been designed that I've been a part of designing for, largest retailers in the world in terms of, strategizing how they're going to source seasons and seasons of fresh produce out of Mexico and South America. And, there was a lot of farmers that were very nervous, and people are very excited about, things kind of remaining they're very optimistic that things are going to they're going to flow under the radar for them.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that there's too much at stake right now on the agriculture side of things. I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see increased inspections. I think you're going to see American companies using the power of the Food and Drug Administration to get engaged to try to slow things down. I'm just not convinced.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to watch on that side of things. But from an economic perspective, how do you think things in Mexico are going?
I think things are going very well. There's a lot of companies that have re-engaged with Mexico as a strategy for the future. For a long time, I know myself personally, I've been pushing the narrative of, being able to source from Mexico, obviously for business reasons, but just shortening the supply chain and making things more accessible and being able to react and pivot to the market whenever there's a need. Having your inventory in Mexico, I've always felt was a huge advantage to the consumer, being able to fulfill your clients' orders and giving them what they need, especially when, things happen and there is a misshipment or something delivered incorrectly, being able to react and take something from just across the border and get it to your client in their hands the next day is a very attractive offer. And it's not something that has been as easy to tame when sourcing out of Asia.
Yeah. I think that the Mexican manufacturers above and beyond that have done really well from the trade war. And I have a lot of conversations with folks where they say, we're happy with the quality and we're happy with the supply chain and we're happy with the price. And we don't see things going sideways in Mexico like they did with China. So,
yeah, I think that as long as the political and, terroristic threats that could come out of, the instability in Mexico. I think that's the biggest deterrent that they have. I think people have come to accept a certain level of quality, a certain level of price point in terms of products, and being able to have contract manufacturers and even manufacturers that are wholly owned and part of a company, react to things and kind of adjust to the market. I think it's going to be a very interesting time.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm wondering, pretty sincerely, how the transition is going to go with the expectations on labor, expectations on environment. Okay, so the timing on all this, Congress passes it, right? Okay.
Right.
Ways and Means is okay with it. And then an implementation plan has to come from Customs. And then the Senate's got to pass it too. Now, Mitch McConnell said that there'll be no signing of this agreement until after the impeachment hearings in the Senate, which I say a lot of crazy things all day, Hector. But the fact that I've had to say like a dozen times since yesterday afternoon, USMCA is not going to go anywhere until the Senate passes it, and that's not likely to happen until after the impeachment trial in the Senate. Like, that's normal for me to say. Like, that's just, oh yeah, we have an impeachment going on, and that has a significant effect on whether or not this agreement is going to get passed anytime soon. So
wild times.
Yeah. You think? Yeah. Well, we don't talk about politics, Hector. Don't you start on me. So it's a fascinating idea to think that best case scenario, it could take as much as 24 months to get this thing.
Oh yeah.
And in between that, we've got a presidential election. Who knows where that's going to go? And a volatile trade situation where every day I wake up to a tweet that can make my day or break my day, buddy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So who knows?
The only thing, in my perfect scenario, this agreement gets signed, and there is the impeachment, whatever happens with the impeachment happens, and the only thing that changes, the only last detail changes, is that they name it NAFTA 2.0. That would be that, my friend.
Yeah,
that could be a musical.
It could be. Yeah, I could write that. USMCA is a preposterously stupid name. And the fact that they did it was completely unnecessary. The agreement's name was perfectly fine.
Yeah. So that's why I want to keep it, change it to NAFTA 2.0.
And here's what's interesting, right? So the left has always wanted these changes, and the labor unions want these changes. Yeah. Agriculture wants these changes, but it was a Republican president who pushed for it. So I guess we shouldn't be so shocked that it's moving as quickly as it is.
Yeah.
But
we got to give credit where credit's due, because they came to the table and said, all right, let's do it. I mean, I think that a lot of Democrats probably consider this a huge concession. Like, they are just like, okay, we're going to.
Isn't a concession, though, because their constituency on the left want it.
Yeah. Oh, no. Whether it's the right thing to do or not is absolutely not the question. It should have. But very easily they could have said, no, we're not going to do it until after. They could have said, we're not going to do it until after the impeachment.
All right. Well, one more thing that we're going to go into is sort of e-commerce and how we're going to deal with shipping packages across the border. Yeah. We have very, very different de minimis rules in Mexico and Canada. In the US, up to $800. There are lobbyists that are currently actively trying to get it to $2,000 to come to America, which is ridiculous. Yeah. So I don't even know what the de minimis is in Mexico, but in Canada, I remember at one point it was like $35 or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
So I know it addressed e-commerce. It certainly got a petroleum, but it falls back on something that hasn't been fixed. All right. And new free trade agreement, great. We're all very impressed. Good for you. Good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you. Very impressed. But the problem I have is importers never did NAFTA right. Like, I don't. Dan, the import man, you, all of us, we do these audits, and people are claiming NAFTA all the time, and they're not claiming it correctly.
Yeah.
You think just because something came from Mexico, it qualifies. They don't do regional value content.
Right. Well, I think the biggest problem, Pete, is I think that companies rely too much on the word of their suppliers. So if they are importing something and they, whether it's a new SKU or a whole new vendor or whatever it is, they simply say, hey, I need that NAFTA certificate. Can you send it over and make sure that it's dated from this date forward?
Yeah.
And then they get it, and it's on file.
And some patsy decides, hey, I'll sign anything.
Yes.
You send that thing to me. I'm on it, man. And then these people sign these things, and they don't realize the kind of responsibility they've just taken on themselves.
Right.
Man, I see it all the time. It's frustrating that people have that much trust in something they should have absolutely no trust at all in.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Pete, it's changed a lot, right? I mean, you want to talk about, when we first started in this industry, an export declaration was literally a rubber stamp on a pro forma invoice, and then you shove it in a mail booth on the way out of the country, and the truck crossed the border. No one ever looked. It's a very different time, and I think we're going to continue to see things like this, but a lot of this change should have happened a long time ago, right?
Yeah, I know it's fair. I still think it's ridiculous that we're talking about paper documents. Any sort of implementation rule should have something in it that says we can keep these electronically, and you don't need them for every one. You just have to prove it if somebody asks.
Yeah. And the thing, when you were talking about, some of the things that you were looking forward to in the agreement and in the new version of the agreement, I'm very interested to see what the unionizing element does, and how that will work in Mexico, and if it would work kind of the way unions are designed to work in the U.S. I don't know.
People being at $16 an hour.
I don't think they have a problem with the $16 an hour. I think that obviously the consumer will end up paying whatever it is, wherever it is, right? If they source in Mexico or if they end up sourcing in the US, in the end, the price is going to go up.
Yeah.
And it's going to affect, at the register or in the checkout box. I don't want to date myself at the register, at the checkout box.
Oh, look at you all young. And...
in the PayPal screen.
Okay. Yeah. Well, two things that weren't addressed properly, or they didn't really get into, is the transportation of stuff across the southern border, the northern border, and that bugs the bejesus out of me, because I don't care what you say, man. That is a absolute goat rodeo, moving stuff across that southern border.
Yeah, no, it is. You were talking about the requirement that trucks from Mexico that are, if they are going to try to travel further than the existing soft line, they've got to meet higher like DOT requirements, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think that it's I don't see any problem with it, actually. I think I like this because here's what it's going to do. I think it's going to separate the pretenders with the real deal, right? If you're going to say that you're in Mexico, if you're going to be doing business in Mexico and providing drivers and equipment and uninterrupted service, and what I mean by that is, if it's the product isn't going to be transloaded, it's going to be going on the same equipment, sealed, and all the things that you are trying to secure a supply chain. It's going to make the players that are trying to call on that type of business, they're going to have to step up. They're going to have to keep up with driver requirements and making sure the drivers are staying compliant and not tying one off on the weekend and screwing something up and end up doing something that they shouldn't do, and then jeopardizing a company that is hiring a provider. There's just a lot of elements, I think, that are going to make companies that are really about that life to step up and separate from the pack.
Well, let's be realistic though, Hector. The likelihood that the companies are not going to work in a corrupt environment in Mexico and get away with stuff.
Yeah.
With security and transportation safety and driver rest, that is still a major concern, man.
Sure, absolutely. But it's very easily, Pete, could be the concern on this end, right? If companies in Mexico said, we don't want to use any American drivers that may have been caught, moving drugs or whatever. Are you doing background checks on your drivers and drug tests on your drivers? The requirements could very easily go the other way, right? But no one's ever kind of questioned the other on the other end.
Oh, look at you getting all like nationalistic right now. Wow. Okay. Well, first of all,
yes,
many of those truckers have had background checks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second of all, if they're in the FAST program, they've had severe background checks. And third of all, it's not so much the driver going down there. It's no American company is going to put equipment across that border because they're afraid it's going to get stolen, broken, ripped off. What happens if you have an insurance claim?
Well, you could, or you could be one of the companies that's going to do it right and is going to invest. Right. And let's say you develop a partnership with a company that is, that can complement the services that you're already providing. And all of a sudden you are tying off the supply chain and making it more secure.
Sure. And let's say that the Dodgers had won a World Series in the past 20 years too. Because I'm
not saying that the cheating scandal.
I'm not saying that it happens or it doesn't happen. First of all, but let's be realistic. I don't think that American companies feel comfortable enough with an incredibly corrupt business practice or business world and having their tractor trailers and their equipment go down there. I don't see it happening anytime soon, man.
I'm going to tell you, like my father would say, the corruption in Mexico and the corruption in the U.S. is the same. The only difference is in the U.S., they give you a receipt.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. I'm glad you came up with that. That's
from my dad.
I feel so corrected now. I'm glad you did. Right. So let's move on a little bit here. So just to recap for everybody, USMCA appears to be on the precipice of being signed. Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. all are in agreement about what it ought to be in it. It has significant changes to the requirements for production of automotives and parts, which will have a threshold that's going to be very difficult for people to actually manage because you have to prove that people are making a certain amount of money. Yeah. There are requirements now for environmental policy, and there's a change to intellectual property regarding pharmaceuticals. The biggest change to us, though, is a newfound attitude towards electronic commerce and an agreement to be a little more to work with one another, more cooperative across that southern border. But as far as banning the tariff and including things, I mean, I don't know of any big differences. The things that might have had new tariffs put on them one way or the other.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that yet.
Yeah. So, and just to reiterate, NAFTA, from a compliance perspective, is something companies don't do very well at. And my best advice to them would be to pull their iTrack or their ACE data, take a look at entries where they're claiming the preferential treatment of NAFTA, and then go pull the documents and see if you can prove whether or not it qualifies. Do you have the cert?
I think you have to qualify that, the products, Pete, but I think a lot of times they're also going to have to verify did the brokers make that decision on their own?
Right.
Because I think in a lot of these analysis that I know that I've personally been involved in analyzing iTrack data, a lot of importers don't realize how much free reign their brokers might have, without them actually knowing.
And I think it's important for us to say that we're big fans of Customs House brokers. And, a lot of times, and here's a great example, an HTS in the past has been claimed as being NAFTA eligible. Something changes or they don't have the documents anymore, but because it has been set up that way, they continue to claim it. And that's negligence and it's an error and they should be held responsible for it. But the import of record has to do the work to prove whether or not that actually happened. So,
but Pete, just like in NAFTA, just like drawback, all of these programs can be very lucrative. There is a lot of money to be saved. There's a lot of money to be recovered. There's a lot of money to, just compliance opportunities to make sure that they're doing things right. And you need resources behind that. You need, companies need to have, the support of their own staff and then, the partners that they have, either customs brokers, consultants, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I just, again and again, I come across these things and I don't think people are taking it seriously. And they take it seriously when they get in trouble, when they get a CP29. And I don't know what enforcement is like in Mexico on NAFTA. I don't know if there's
the livelihood is much different, Pete. That, if a company, gets selected for a, NAFTA audit or any customs audit, and the SAT comes in, SAT is the Mexican customs group. If they come in and they do an inspection and they find, errors in NAFTA, the way things are being claimed and sort of things like that, I mean, they will lose their EMEX. You will lose the ability to manufacture goods without paying duty. It's huge. People don't play with that in Mexico. It's not something that they don't take that risk.
And I think that people in America who are operating in Mexico would be shocked.
Yeah.
Understand just how everything about enforcement in Mexico is much, much tougher than it is here.
It's much tougher and there's a lot more blame to go around. So, the Mexican importer, their EMEX will get held up. The Mexican broker could get their patente held up. I mean, it's just depending on how severe and how negligent, they find the thing, but everyone's guilty until proven innocent. So, automatically everything is put on hold and you got to figure it out.
Well, in my experiences in getting in trouble in Mexico, I was never innocent until proven.
Yes.
And for those of you who do not know what a patente is, I believe that's the brokerage license.
Patente. Yeah, it's a brokerage license. Yeah.
No.
You love when I do that.
Because I've never bothered. I need to learn.
Well, because you'll learn. We're going to teach you Spanish while we go on a road show, our taco road show.
Taco road show?
Yes. Yeah. And then
this is one of the best ideas we've ever had was to travel all over Mexico, the southern border, and the U.S., going to Mexican restaurants and taco places.
Yes.
In a Volkswagen microbus.
Yes.
It would be entirely in Spanish.
Yes.
Subtitles. And the whole point, I am oblivious to what's going on and being said around me, and all of the jokes and everything funny is, and I have no idea.
I love it.
Yeah. And
I'm in.
We go into the kitchens and learn from the people who are cooking how they did it and how they do it all.
Put the link to the GoFundMe here so that we can. The Kickstarter.
Yeah. How about you go fund my fees instead? Definitely a lot better. Yeah. So what is so SAT is the Mexican Customs Authorities.
Yeah.
And what is SAT? How do you what is the in Spanish?
It's an acronym, and if you had not asked me, I would have probably spouted it off.
All right, then we'll just pretend like you don't know it.
Yes. Okay. Or do that.
We're just going to question your validity as a subject matter expert on customs.
Please do.
Mexico. Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm having a lot more fun doing it this way than when we used to do it because we could actually just talk and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. Now, you are one of my favorite people to talk to. We do it a lot. For those people, Hector and I rarely go a day without texting or calling one another because we have a type of loving relationship.
Yeah.
And you have a fascinating backstory about how you ended up in this. Well, I think it's fascinating about how you ended up in this stupid business. So
so I'll talk about it.
What happened, man?
It was funny. I graduated high school and
so let's establish that Hector did in fact graduate from high school.
I did. I graduated high school.
No matter what you've heard from people, he is absolutely graduated from high school.
So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do before school started. And a buddy of mine told me to come by and come apply at this place where he had gotten his job at because it was great and he was having a good time and he wasn't doing much. So I said, sounds perfect. Let's go check it out.
I can do that.
Yeah,
I totally do that.
I got hired to work for a U.S. customs broker on the southern border named Rudolph Miles and Sons, who was a very big player on the southern border at one time. And eventually got bought out by UPS Supply Chain Solutions. But I worked there for about 2 years, and I was, started doing everything from, courier service type stuff, and probably the biggest job I had, the first year was I was in charge of all of the stevedores that we had at the Sleta Cargo facility. It's probably the biggest border crossing point in El Paso. So all these trucks are coming through, they get selected for exam or there's questions on the paperwork. And then they would, yell out the broker name and you'd go over there with your little clipboard and your radio and figure out, they wanted to inspect the whole thing or, offload a lane on the left side or find me this SKU. I want to find this SKU. And you just kind of helped organize facilitate the exams and get the inspectors to kind of, work with you and be able to get stuff moving as quickly as possible and hopefully not get anything seized.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hey, if you don't hold that camera steady, I might throw up all over my laptop.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
you're not that sorry.
Not that sorry.
So how did you end up working for one of the biggest freight forwarders and customs house brokers in the world?
So Ford had all their business with Rudolph Miles and Sons. So I was in charge of clearing these nightly charters that they were flying in from Chihuahua. GM, Ford, all of these large automotive companies were chartering aircrafts at night every evening for all of their production facilities. And this stuff was, touching the ground in El Paso. We were clearing it, and then it was flying directly to Cleveland and delivering to the Ford plant in Cleveland. I mean, it was just engines, auto glass, electrical stuff. I mean, there was all sorts of things that they were manufacturing. And when Rudolph Miles and Sons lost that business to Expeditors had to open up shop. They didn't have any presence along the southern border. And I was recruited out to come help them open up these offices. And I worked for 15 years at Expeditors throughout 6 or so different offices. And yeah, it was a good time, man. It was the southern border really shaped how I saw things. And then, once getting in, moving to, other parts of the world and seeing how business is handled, not just on the border, and being able to come back and still dabble in border business, but, still being able to do, stuff in Asia or, Africa, Europe, all sorts of places and really trying to tie it all together is really cool.
You have a great metaphor about growing up on the border, about how no one really accepts anybody on the border.
Yeah. So, it's funny because it's not until you leave the border that you really realize, how different it is, right? And on the border, at least in El Paso, the majority, like over 90% of the population here looks like me, right? They're brown. They're of Mexican descent. There's a lot of brown people around. And it's not until I left the border that I realized that I was I was in fact a minority, right? This was the first time I was a minority when I left at 20 years old. So what I realized is when you grow up on the border, and I would go into Mexico to visit relatives and see them and kind of, you kind of see your second or third cousins, people that you know that you're related to, but you don't see them very often, and you're having conversations and you realize, how different life is just across the border from each other. I wasn't Mexican enough for any of my Mexican family, right? They always looked at you as a pocho. Pocho is a slang word for, somebody who looks like this, but, it thinks and talks like a white guy or a Caucasian person that's not really in tune with their, with their roots or whatever.
Did you just use Mexican slang that's going to get me unmonetized on YouTube?
No, nothing too serious. It's not, I don't think it's an insult yet, but this may not age very well. And in 5 years, we might have to take it down.
Oh man, we'll never have our own sketch comedy.
Maybe not.
Yeah. And then in America, nobody accepted you because you were not American enough because you were.
So then I leave, the comforts of the brown community, and you go somewhere else, and, they think, are you in this? I had somebody when I lived in Atlanta, and I had somebody ask me if I was in this country legally. And I never had anybody ask me that question.
You should have said, no, I'm from Texas. And as far as I'm concerned, that would have been that, because I would have said something.
That would have been, listen, it took me to get to Georgia before I met the first time I met a Jewish person.
That's crazy.
It baffled me for a long time that being Jewish is considered a religion. Like it's a religion and it's like a race.
Yeah. Well,
so you could be Jewish and not be practicing and still be treated.
All right. Well, let's back it up a little bit. Okay. So we are both born in the great state of Texas.
Yes.
And I'm a bit older than you.
Yes.
I'm still prettier, but I'm older than you.
Okay.
And I thought that everybody had Mexican food.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was just normal that you would like, where are we going for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
We're going for dinner and we're just going to eat Mexican food. I don't remember too many times going out with my mom and dad that we didn't go to some total baller Mexican place and just like, or Tex-Mex, it wasn't Mexican.
Yeah.
And just go off. And then, I move up to the Northeast with my family and it just sucked. Like there was nothing to eat up here. And then at the same time, there were no Mexican people in New Hampshire when I was a teenager. And, but growing up in Texas, everybody I knew, because I was Catholic, was Mexican.
Yeah.
and my father and mom being pretty left to center and being from the Northeast, that was kind of the way it was, man. It's, we were surrounded by, but like, and then I go to New England and I'm like, where have bagels been my whole life?
Yeah.
Is this what pizza's supposed to taste like? Because it sucks in Texas. It still sucks. And I don't care what you say. We are never going to a good pizza place in Dallas. The only thing Dallas has that blows me away, and maybe I'm letting my root show here.
Yes.
But barbecue. I cannot stand it when anyone from the Carolinas or like Georgia's like, you guys don't know what barbecue is. I'm like, I will punch you in the mouth if you talk smack about Texas barbecue.
Barbecue.
I will throw you and I will choke you if you say anything crazy about my beloved barbecue.
I think there is nothing purer than brisket. Smoked brisket. There's nothing pure.
I haven't had dinner yet, and it's like 7:45 here. Don't do that to me.
Yeah,
we're gonna go to Austin.
Yeah,
and we're gonna take like 2 or 3 days, and we are just gonna eat barbecue.
Yeah.
Possibly have a heart attack.
Yes.
On those 2 or 3 days. But I am so excited to just go eat barbecue, because when we go to Heart 8, or we go to barbecue places or taco places, we're even worse at taco places.
Anywhere we go.
That's true. We get so much food.
Yes.
So how are we going to go to a bomb barbecue joint in Austin and be like, no, we're just going to get
sample
to taste it, and then we're going to get back in the car and we're going to drive to the next, because we don't want to overdo it.
I think, honestly, the trick is, like, if we were going to do it, is that we have to eat before we go.
Stop it.
And then film getting sick, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm like a goldfish when it comes to brisket. I will eat it until I'm dead. I will keep eating it. You got to take it away from me.
Yes.
I love it so much. And I don't like, okay, pulled pork and turkey.
It's okay.
Ooh, I don't care.
It's fine.
Brisket, baby.
Brisket.
I need brisket. I need a big pile of it with some beans and about 9,000.
Yes.
So
listen, I am not kicking you out of bed for eating crackers if you bring some baby back ribs into this conversation, but all I'm saying is
we're open-minded.
You can't go wrong with brisket.
We're open-minded to your barbecue filth. Don't get us wrong. Yes. We're not we're not quite that awful people, but it better be brisket. And then on tacos, I always let you just take care of it. You're like, what are you mood for? You want something crazy? And it's like, get some lingua and some barbacoa and some pastor. Yeah. Before you know it, we've got like 25 tacos in front of us. But you took me to someplace last time.
Yes.
Some crazy stuff. Do you remember?
I mean, it had like squid and octopus and calamari and tilapia. There was a lot of stuff. I think it was Tacos Mariachi. I think that's the place
the name of it. That was the name of it.
Yeah. And it's a San Diego style taqueria. So it was, it's pretty good. The seafood aspect was really delicious.
There was one we had that had kimchi in it. It was like Korean.
Yes.
That was so awesome.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's gonna be
then we went to this bar, and our waitress bartender, otherwise was a very attractive young lady.
Yes.
Had some interesting things going on with her eyebrows. And the best way to describe it, go ahead.
It's the Angry Birds phenomenon.
That's right. The red Angry Bird.
I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I've never, ever had one of my guy friends tell me, man, did you see her eyebrows? She was hot. So, ladies, you're doing it for the other ladies, because that's the only other people that are impressed by this, but
it looked like 2 pieces of what was that Flexi Seal? It looks like she painted 2 pieces of Flexi Seal on her eyebrows.
Yes.
And the thing about it was, so we're having drinks and we're having beers, and it's getting kind of late, and we have to take this woman seriously.
Yes.
It's like me with the beard, like me walking around with the stuff all over my face. I wouldn't expect anyone to take me seriously.
You should have done your eyebrows.
I should do my eyebrows. And whenever she would come over, we'd look at her like, we couldn't believe it. I'm quite sure she was laughing at the two of us too. I would laugh.
She also looked like she could beat us up.
Yeah,
and did. And still make a drink on the other hand. It's not not a lot of effort.
Yeah, she was a pretty tough looking lady, but I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Yeah. Leave your eyebrows alone. I mean, don't get me wrong, do a little work there, but
yeah.
Oh, good God. So I'm coming to Dallas in a couple days, Friday, to see your wife, not to see you.
Of course.
Hector's wife is also a custom house broker. I'm very fond of her. Her name is Yvette.
Yeah.
What was Yvette's name before she got married to you?
Figueroa,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yvette Figueroa. And you have 3 beautiful daughters.
Yes.
And we are all I'm bringing my daughter.
You're bringing your daughters. I'm very excited about this.
Oh, Hector, she has never met my family in Texas.
This is so exciting.
I don't know how excited I am. I have 2 very different sides to my family in Texas. I have the very devout Southern Baptist, nothing is funny.
Yes.
And I love them. I love them. I need to make that very clear. I love them all. And then I have the other side of my family, which is, yeehaw, how many beers can we shovel down our throats?
Yeah.
side of my family. And, my daughter has grown up most of her life on the seaside of New England.
Yes.
Mother, could I have some more tea?
You're not taking her to Abilene though, right?
No, we're going to Midlothian and Fort Worth, but we are. So she's already said to me, can we go to Abilene? And I don't want to go back to Abilene, Texas, man.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to go there in Lubbock. I'm not a big fan of going back out there. I know it's where I'm from. I know ultimately who I am, but Mac Davis said it best. Happiness is Lubbock, Texas in your rearview mirror. And I know the end of that song gets all like, so beautiful, Lubbock. No, Lubbock is not beautiful. Lubbock is where you go when you can't get into Texas A&M, man. That's what's up with Lubbock. Anyway, I'm excited to see you and the girls. I'm interested to see what the four of them do.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I told you this. We are in the middle of I'm making my kids watch all of the Star Wars movies. This was part of my agreement to get the Disney Plus.
Why said I would do it?
Well, because here's the thing.
Plus, don't be a jerk.
They got it. Listen, I'm not there this week. I'm sure they're having free reign. But I had to get them to agree to it because I wanted them to kind of like I did the same thing a few years ago for Father's Day. What do you want to do? I said, I want Mom to make pasta and I want to drink wine and eat pasta and watch movies all day. And we watched we watched 3 Iron Man movies.
Okay.
And then we went to Wikipedia and then we went down the list and saw every Marvel movie that's come out since 1990, whatever.
Well, you do have the greatest Halloween costumes ever when you were all the Avengers.
Yes, the Avengers and Inside Out and Nuns and I mean, this is it's exciting stuff. We did the Addams Family this year, so I just want it's the one time they don't watch a lot of sports. I don't watch a lot of sports other than baseball.
Baseball's plenty, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yes, trust me, I can't. Right now, everyone's freaking about USMCA and the playoffs in the NFL, and I'm worried about the winter meetings. And what the hell are they doing? And screw Garrett Cole.
Did you see how much he got?
Oh my God, dude! $324 million for 9 years, though. He's going to be 38 when that expires.
He can still pitch.
Can he?
Yeah, I
don't know.
He's not real durable, I guess, but God, he's got an arm.
It's just a long time for anybody with an arm like that. Like it's not. This history is not on your side, bro.
Well, who's the one who's still getting paid? It's not Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla.
Is it him?
Like it is Bobby Bonilla. Like clockwork. I think it's like August 1st. He gets that $1 million check.
The amount of brain power that goes into these contracts to be like, okay, here's how we're going to make it work. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to be in contract for 59 years.
Yeah.
And for the last 20 of those, we're going to pay you like a bag of Doritos and $100 a week.
Yeah.
Just the
well, I saw I saw a thing they were talking about the Strasburg contract, and they're saying that I think Washington had to defer like $145 million of his contract.
That's amazing.
Like they have to defer. They have to load it on the back end.
And he's up there already. He's not young.
Yeah. Well, Strasburg is in better shape than Garrett Cole, I think. I think Garrett Cole's 29. I think Strasburg is 27, I think.
But see, this is what it's like. So all of us, when we work together, this is all we talk about is baseball. So I know I'm wearing my Nats hat, but I'm a devout Red Sox fan and a Dodgers fan. It made for a very, very uncomfortable World Series a few years ago.
Yes.
Dan is a Giants fan, and you guys argue about baseball all the time. It's just weird how baseball.
I don't argue with Dan. I just tell him how it is, and then he decides to say something back or not. I don't know. I don't listen. But yeah,
he's not here to defend himself. So
it's true.
So the two of you do argue about
the only thing that I can tell you that I 1,000% agree on with Dan Schwartz. Okay, is Madison Bumgarner should not be pitching for the Dodgers.
No, he should not.
And if he lands on the Dodgers, it's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, before this devolves into Pete and Hector talk about sports, which would still be fun.
I think so.
I am greatly looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Me too.
Thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely love hanging out with you. But I have three questions.
Yes.
That I ask every guest.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Question number one: first car you ever had? I know the answer to this too. First car you ever had that was yours. Mm-hmm. What was it, and what happened to it?
It was a 1946 Chevy two-door sedan. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful canary yellow, had Boyd racing wheels on it. It was louder than any other car that on the block. It resulted in, getting fined for it. But it was a beautiful car, very fast. But, I bought it with my own money. I bought it off of one of my uncles. And it just was a money pit. It was not a great car for a junior in high school. It was great for getting attention from the ladies, but it was not very cool for, pumping money into it. It was just, it got expensive. So I ended up having to get rid of it and, move on to something else more practical.
What did you buy after that one?
I bought a 1992 Ford Thunderbird. It was used. It had a moonroof. It was
that is a slick ride, man.
Yes, sir.
Ride. Okay. Next question. First job you ever had that actually gave you a paycheck. What was the job and how much did you make?
All right. So I worked it was very interesting. So I was 14, and in the state of Texas, you had to be 16 to get a job, like a real job. And a really good friend of mine was a manager at a pizza joint called Peter Piper Pizza, who I still argue has great pizza, even for you. No. Well, we'll try it one day. And I had to go to the Texas Workforce Commission, and I had to plead that I had a hardship case. So they would give me paperwork on my 15th birthday. They gave me paperwork that allowed me to work something like a max of like 25 hours a week. And I worked at a pizza joint, and I made the minimum wage was probably like $3.25 or something. And I did that until I probably went to work for another pizza joint after that. I was really moving the ranks at the pizza joint.
You were right up the ranks of the pizza game.
I don't want to say I'm a big deal, but I did. I may have made the first calzone at Peter Piper Pizza. I don't know.
We have it's well documented. We have proof. We got a picture. It's up on the wall at Peter Piper Pizza.
Yes.
Okay. Third question. If you were not in the industry of logistics and you could do anything, anything, regardless of the fact that you are not athletically gifted or funny or interesting, what would be the job, like the greatest job that you could have had that you can think of?
It's funny that you should say that, because I have that predicament on my lap as we talk about this. I think that, if money was not a concern and it was just doing what I'd love to do, I'd love to help kids. I'd love to help, especially kids that have special needs. I really have a huge connection to the Special Olympics and the type of athletes that go through the Special Olympics. I worked a lot with kids in that realm. I think that I probably want to do something that made me feel good about, the helping people and things like that. I've thought about, medical stuff and things like that, but, I really enjoy affecting people and helping make their lives better.
So maybe a teacher or a coach or something like that.
Yeah, something like that would be great.
All right. Yeah, I can dig it, man. Most guys say like astronaut or baseball player.
Yeah.
Here's Hector trying to save mankind.
I think it's probably because of, with everything that, going on today. But, if it wasn't for that, I don't know. If I had like thinking about something, I would probably want to work for the Dodgers.
On purpose?
Probably, yes, on purpose. That would be, yeah.
All right. Well, we will have you back on sooner than later, Hector. I lost you on video, but we'll have you back on, and we can talk about when you met Magic Johnson, and we can talk about a lot of other very cool stories. But thank you for coming on. I hope your dad's recovering well, and I will see you in a couple of days.
Thanks, buddy.
That's it for Trade School, brought to you by the World Trade Centers. If you have any questions or you're looking for assistance, whether you're a large importer, exporter, or a small importer, exporter, World Trade Centers is the best place to go to get that support. There's probably one in your local area. All of our technical and production assistance is given to us by Cap Logistics. Cap Logistics is a fine organization, and you can get to their website on the information tab for this podcast. Thanks for joining us on Trade Geek, and we'll see you again soon.